Colin O'Keefe here with Monday's episode of LXBN TV. Many in the oil and gas industry are looking to Illinois House Bill 2615 as a potential model for legislation on hydraulic fracturing. But what started as regulation through cooperation has hit something of a rough spot. Joining me to explain the bill and what it means for the industry is Justin Lemaire, attorney with Stone Pigman, Walther, Wittmann, and author on the Environmental and Energy Law Brief. Justin, first, can you explain why the Illinois bill was looked to by many around the country and what's happened with it recently?
Well, I think the first reason why so many people are looking to it around the country is that hydraulic fracturing is just a hot button issue right now nationwide. And it's one that's currently being debated in a lot of our more populous states and states that are seen as policy-making states or trend-setting states like New York and California, and I guess Illinois qualifies there as well. Another reason is that it comes out of an interesting background, and it's a background that I think is present in a lot of states in the country. Southern Illinois is the area of the state where this hydraulic fracturing activity is expected to take place, and it's a part of the state that's desperate for economic development. And groups from the industry have started laying the groundwork to do hydraulic fracturing, leasing land and things like that, but they haven't really commenced operations because they want to know what rules are going to apply going forward before they make that commitment. And for the last couple of years, the Illinois legislature's debated bills that would either impose regulations or they've even debated moratorium bills. And so there is some uncertainty, and it's from that background that a representative from the southern part of the state, John Bradley, brought together a group from industry and from environmental concerns, as well as the other branches of the government, the Attorney General's office, the Governor's office, and the regulatory agencies, to make a compromise. And they met over several months to compromise, and they whittled it down to a core group of 4 negotiators from industry, 4 from the environmental groups, and for some of the more tense negotiations on the tougher issues, they whittled it down even more than that. And I think maybe the most interesting thing is that what emerged was a compromise between groups who a lot of people thought wouldn't ever be able to compromise on this particular issue, industry and environmental concerns, and that may be the thing that's garnering the most attention. As for what happened, when the bill was first announced, people from both sides, from industry and environmental concerns, came and said and warned that this was a compromise. Both sides could live with this bill, but it was fragile, it was tenuous, and that any attempt to change it, to either increase the regulations or to decrease the regulatory burden, might cause one side or the other to walk away and withdraw support. And then I think the bill just ran into the legislative process. The first setback was that the Speaker of the House, who was widely thought to support the bill, whose staff participated in the negotiations, announced that he was supporting a moratorium instead. Then there was a blow-up over severance taxes and licensing fees. And the bill was amended to add severance taxes and licensing fees. The industry didn't like that, but they managed to clear that hurdle. They reached another compromise, moved forward. And then less than a week later, there was another amendment, interestingly proposed by Representative Bradley himself, that would require licensed water well drillers with Illinois licenses to be present on site. And I think that was enough for some of the industry groups. They withdrew their support. They actually had to cancel a committee vote on the bill because it was expected that the bill wouldn't get enough votes to advance to the full legislature. And that's where we've been since late March.
Wow, yeah, this is interesting to track because it's one bill that does actually have cooperation surrounding it. So second, if legislation like this can't get through with a number of representatives from both the environmental side and the industry side coming to the table, is there hope for appropriate legislation and regulation coming out, legislation that will keep pace with the industry?
Well, I'd caution first, I don't know that the Illinois bill is dead yet. I'm not an expert on the legislative process, and here in New Orleans, I'm certainly not an expert on the Illinois legislative process, but when this latest amendment was first emerged, one of the representatives from industry had the comment that every bill is a journey, and this may be just part of this particular bill's journey. But even if it doesn't pass in Illinois, as we've discussed, it did attract a lot of attention nationwide, a lot of interest from environmental groups and from industry groups who are operating in other parts of the country. I think more and more environmental groups are coming to the realization, at least in some states, that fracking may be inevitable. It might not be realistic to continue pushing for a ban or a moratorium. And maybe the next best thing is to try to come up with some compromise regulations to work with industry. And I think the same thing from the industry side. We talked about industry-like certainty. And it's been my experience working with industry in cases down here in Louisiana that maybe more than they're given credit for, industry wants to do the right thing. And it's good for business in the long run, oftentimes, to do the right thing. And so I think there is interest on both sides, and that even if it doesn't pass in Illinois, we could see similar compromise type fracking regulations in other states around the country.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, many people are looking towards what's going on with this bill around the country, so they see that to at least get somewhere, to get started, they need to cooperate and they need to make compromises. Again, that was Justin Lemaire of Stone Pigman, Walther, Wittmann. For more of his insight, be sure to visit environmentalenergylawbrief.com. And as always, visit us at LXBN.com for hundreds of these LXBN TV video interviews, along with curated commentary from the LexBlog Network's more than 8,000 members. Thanks for joining us, Justin.
Thank you.